Good morning and welcome to the last commission meeting of the year 2021. The Public Service Commission is now on the record. Good morning. Before we get started with today's administrative meeting, we have meeting minutes to approve from our last meeting of December 15th, 2021. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 4 items on today's consent agenda. However, we will be moving items 1 and 2 to the administrative agenda. Item number 3 is an application for certification of a geothermal heating and cooling renewable energy facility from Michael Collum. And item number 4 is another application for certification of a geothermal heating and cooling facility from Paul Morley.
Thank you. With respect to items number 3 and number 4, I move that we approve the applications and issue a renewable energy facility certification number and energy savings estimate. Direct the applicants, Mr. Michael Cullum and Mr. Paul Morley, respectively, to establish REC accounts with PJM GATS within 30 days of certification and file a geothermal and thermal biomass generation report with the Commission within 1 week of each recording of generation data with GATS of RECs created, and direct both applicants to file notice with the Commission within 30 days of any change to the information in their respective applications. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. So, Mr. Secretary, we'll call items 1 and 2 together. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Items number 1 and 2 now on the administrative agenda are item number 1 is a request for an extension of a CPCN construction commencement deadline in case number 9471 from TransSource Maryland LLC. On this item, we have Roger Austin, Michael Dean, Bill Fields for OPC, Chris Gunderson, and Hector Garcia for the company. And then item number 2 is another request for an extension of the CPCN waiver construction deadline in case number 9471 from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company. The same participants for staff and Office of People's Counsel on this one, along with David Ralph for PGE.
Thank you. Good morning to our staff.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Do you have any remarks for the commission, Mr. Austin?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. No, we were not aware that this was going to be pushed to the regular agenda, so we don't have any prepared comments.
Thank you, Mr. Austin. Counsel for Office of People's Counsel.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. William Fields for the Office of People's Counsel. We filed a letter with respect to both of these requests, opposing the requests. Just to summarize the letter, the sands are shifting with respect to this whole project. And that's not to say that the justification is no longer valid. It may be. It may still be a worthwhile project for Maryland customers. But the point is that things have changing. Things have changed. Things are changing. PJM has suspended the project and removed it from its model. That means that lines are going to be, planning is going to happen without that, assuming that the line is not going to be there. And that could result in new projects being decided, planned for reliability, that maybe Maryland customers might have to pay part of it, maybe other customers, but that could, and those other lines could impact how this line is going to benefit Maryland customers in terms of reducing congestion, which is the primary reason for this project. Again, this is not to say that any of this that the justification has changed at this point, but there are these things happening, and our point is that the commission should have an opportunity to review this before very substantial expenditure is made that will be the responsibility of Maryland customers. And frankly, the way we could see for that commission to have that opportunity would be to deny these requests to extend these deadlines and review the projects again when and if they're able to get through the legal issues up in Pennsylvania and become a viable project again, get back involved in the PJM planning process, and then review those projects here in Maryland to make sure that it's still a valid market efficiency project, meaning that there's still a cost benefit there for Maryland customers. So that's the reason for our letter, and I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding that.
Thank you, Mr. Fields. We'll turn to counsel for TransSource.
Thank you, Your Honor. Chris Gunderson on behalf of TransSource, and I also have with me Mr. Hector Garcia, Senior Counsel at TransSource and American Electric Power, who can answer questions as well. But just briefly, Your Honor, I believe OPC's opposition to the request is based on a series of hypothetical changes or modifications to a project that have not occurred yet. And the fact of the matter is that PJM has not canceled the project. We will continue to provide monthly updates to the Commission as to the Pennsylvania litigation status and the status within PJM. And so the prudent course is to extend these deadlines to allow that process to play out. And with that updated information, the Commission will be able to act on it if necessary in the future. But Hector, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Thank you, Your Honors. Just to emphasize and clarify, the project has not been canceled. PJM continues to mandate that the project be constructed. So from that point of view, the only result of advancing additional evidentiary proceedings or decision making in Maryland would be to further extend the potential start of construction of the project. So at this point, with the Maryland approval, all that we are seeking is the resolution of the approval for the facilities in Pennsylvania, which is ongoing.
Thank you. We'll turn to counsel for Baltimore Gas and Electric.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. David Ralph on behalf of BGE. Our comments are similar to those by Mr. Gunderson. PJM has not canceled the project and has indicated that it continues to be supportive of the project. I believe what's appropriate is if there are changes to the project in terms of PJM's decisions about the project, we can update the Commission about that. The current extension ends this month in a few days. So, in order to actually have an opportunity to construct a project, I do think an extension is necessary. And the extension we're asking for is until December. So I think that's a reasonable request, and certainly we can update the Commission if there are any changes that would affect the decision.
Mr. Dean.
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to note that toward the end of the TransSource proceeding, it was noted that it was now considered to be a reliability project also, and that by canceling the CPCN or the CPCN waivers, that would directly affect the resolution of those items. Also, it's only been a year since the issuance of the CPCN and CPCN exemptions. And I cannot imagine any other approval of the commission that has been overturned on such short notice. Lastly, I would note that the Office of People's Counsel identified general issues and did not note any specific item that would invalidate the analysis of the CPCN or CPCN waivers, only that it was a possibility that there were issues. The PGAM placement of the project as a suspension is mainly to allow it from interfering with the analysis of other projects and issues. And to date, none of those have been submitted for review by the commission or staff. And staff continues per our comments to support the granting of the requested extensions.
Thank you, Mr. Dean, for providing that summary on the fly for us. At this point, we'll turn to some of the commissioners. We do have Commissioners O'Donnell and Commissioner Linton with us virtually as well, not at the table, obviously. We'll start the questions with Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start with you, Mr. Fields. I thought you had a lot of compelling arguments in your brief. I guess, to the point about what's the prudent step or course forward, I wanted to find out if you were thinking about the abandonment costs at all in your recommendation. It's my understanding from a recent TAC public meeting that right now the sunk costs are somewhere around, let's see, they say $131.88 million. I mean, if we were to act like today, and the company decided to go ahead and abandon it, would that just lock in those costs to our ratepayers?
Only if the project was ultimately abandoned. If you acted today to deny these extensions, but the project came back for a CPCN or for a waiver, then and it was ultimately granted, and the project construction, then that would be part of the cost. If the project is abandoned, for whatever reason, if it's not approved in Pennsylvania, then there would be abandonment costs to deal with. So it's something that's going to have to be considered, regardless of how this plays out. The issue that we were concerned about is there going to be significantly more dollars spent on this project that will not be cost effective for customers.
Okay. And in your calculus, the possibility of what's going on in Pennsylvania and Maryland, if we were to say, okay, we are going to withdraw the CPCN, again, I guess the concern I have, would that be such a strong signal to the company that it would prompt an abandonment, and therefore we'd lock in those costs? I heard your answer just now, so you don't have to repeat it, but that is a concern I have. What about the combined effect of both states throwing such risk into this project?
Yes, I'm not sure if you wanted me to answer that. I mean, it's a significant project. I don't think there's a great chance that the company will abandon it without a final decision from some entity, a state that finally denies their ability to build the project.
Okay. I guess the question you talked about increasing costs of this project before it even gets constructed. I guess I'd like to know, maybe it's it's TransSource or our staff, if we were to go ahead and grant another year-long extension, how do those costs continue to accrue? Are we putting off potentially an inevitable decision of abandonment costs, or is there some value to considering just stopping now and trying to just extend this what they is, I guess it's estimated right now at 148 million, 131 million dollars. This is for Mr. Austin or for TransSource.
I think TransSource would be better able to answer that.
Chris, would you like me to address that?
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Yeah, Your Honor, thank you for your question. The cancellation, if that were to occur for the project, it's not a decision that TransSource would make, it's a decision that PJM would make. At this point, consistent with the instructions from both PJM and from this commission, the costs that are being incurred in connection with the project are minimized to what's necessary to maintain the project on a viable basis and to pursue the legal challenges that are pending in Pennsylvania. So from that point of view, actually, if there was I'm going to say some type of determination right now that we had to come back to Maryland for additional approvals, if we were able to obtain the approvals elsewhere, that would actually add to the cost rather than subtract from the costs.
Yeah, okay. So a year from now, the 131, and did you agree with that number that was used at the TAC meeting November 30th, that right now sunk costs are about $131.88 million? Is that a correct number that we're looking at?
Your Honor, that's a number that PJM estimates based not only on IEC, but also in information that it gets from the other entities that have components of Project 9A. So from that point of view, while I have no problem with the estimate, that's not an estimate that comes from only from TransSource.
Okay, so what's your estimate?
Yeah, I'm sorry?
What's your estimate then?
Oh, I don't have that information. We can provide it after the fact if that's helpful. I think that the updates that are provided to the commission include the actual costs for the Maryland portion of the IEC project. We can certainly provide for the rest of the project, but the PJM number that it's used is something that PJM prepares.
Okay, and your answer is that there will be increase in costs over the year, but whether or not we act today, those costs will increase regardless, and those in the abandonment, if there were an abandonment.
No, I apologize, Your Honor. That's not what I intend to convey. The estimate for the cost of the project remains unchanged.
I guess I'm looking at the potential for abandonment costs.
Yeah, the actual costs continue to be recovered through the formula rate, and at this point, the increase in abandonment costs, which would be the capital costs, it's essentially only what's related to the prosecution of the legal actions, which would not change depending on suspension of the Maryland proceeding. In any case, it would increase because then we would need to come back. But the costs that are associated with the prosecution of the Maryland portion, those continue to be accrued while the project, we're still fighting for it.
Okay, Mr. Garcia, if I could interrupt, I'm getting a little bit confused now with some of your responses.
I'm sorry.
We have TransSource Maryland and we have TransSource PA. Commissioner Richard mentioned some numbers that you were not able to verify, approximately 131 million. TransSource Maryland is reporting to the Maryland PSC regularly with respect to its pre-construction spend. Is that correct?
My understanding is that the number that is provided in the reports to Maryland are the actual costs incurred.
Okay, yes.
For the IC portion.
So, right. So the answer is yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
In July 2021, your cumulative spend was about 14.6 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that that number is right now very close to 15 million.
Okay. As of October, the TransSource spend was reported at 14.9 million. So that would be consistent with your 15 million number. So
Correct.
it's growing somewhat slightly as a cumulative amount.
That is correct.
Litigation fees in Pennsylvania are booked against TransSource Pennsylvania. Is that right?
I believe that they are.
And counsel, if your client is saying anything that you believe is incorrect, feel free to jump in. So just doing some rough numbers here, between July and October, TransSource Maryland's pre-construction spend has increased about $250,000. I just wanted to get these numbers, and do you agree with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I wanted to get that clear with respect to the larger number cited by Commissioner Richard was the sort of the PJM 9A expenses. And I wanted to clarify that the Pennsylvania litigation incurred with the decision of the PUC there is booked against the Pennsylvania jurisdictional entity.
Okay, so ultimately, the allocation are separate for the Maryland consumers and the Pennsylvania consumers, and we're not looking at the gross number here.
I believe that's correct, but we should confirm that with the TransSource and BGE representatives.
Yeah, Your Honor, the costs are allocated to Maryland for the whole project, a percentage, and that's consistent with what's in the order and in the settlement that was provided. That cost allocation percentage has not changed.
Okay, so we should be concerned about both numbers, both what's being reported from PJM and the Maryland specific numbers, because ultimately Maryland is going to be responsible for a portion of, well, probably all of the Maryland, but a portion of all expenses. Is that correct? Is that what your answer is?
Yes, Your Honor. Maryland is going to be responsible for the allocated portion of the TransSource costs.
They are growing. Okay.
And the project costs.
Let me just finish the last one I had really for staff and OPC. Again, this is kind of based on these last 2 months TAC meetings and where they discussed this particular project 9A, the fact that it is not canceled, but it's being pulled out of the models. On the side of, you know, whether it's a market efficiency or not, one of the base case analysis from PGM shows that it actually is, you know, with all in costs included, including all sunk costs, it now only ranks as a 1, which is below the threshold for a market efficiency project. And then it also said that at this point in time, there really is no reliability a major concern. It says violations are small in magnitude and operating steps for short-term duration can mitigate unless issues until further review. So at this point, it doesn't appear that this project is going to address a reliability project. Again, these are just from recent TAC meetings, things can change, but does that change staff's view of this project at all? I mean, should we just take a pause and do a reassessment of whether this is a really truly a market efficiency project, or is prudency such that we should continue at least another year and see where we are?
Commissioner, to be honest, we haven't done any further analysis of this project since we provided our settlement testimony almost 2 years ago, February of 2020. The primary reason that we believe it's appropriate to grant the extension is based on the fact that the commission granted PE an extension in case 9470 just a few weeks ago. And as you know, all the work in case 9470 is 100% dependent on the work in 9471. So if you were to deny the extension in 9471, you would basically be flip-flopping on your decision of a few weeks ago in 9470. So that's the reason we think it's appropriate to grant the extension to December of 2022, just as you granted the extension to PE in 9470 to December of 2022.
Okay, well, fair enough. I mean, we make our decisions based on the best information we have at the time, and we are looking at this case today. So your point taken. But if at some point this project is going off the rails or doesn't meet the requirements to be a market efficiency project, I would have no problem changing if that's the case. But any final comments from OPC at this point on the concerns of at least what's being raised right now, at least concerns I have from recent TAC meetings at PJM?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think those are excellent points. If there are reliability issues and with this project suspended and no longer in the model, PJM will develop the least cost solutions for those reliability issues, which might, as I've been saying, might further erode the cost benefit of this project. And what we're really trying to accomplish here is giving the commission an opportunity to review this again and be sure that the cost benefit is really there for this project before the substantial expenditure occurs when the construction really starts. If the Pennsylvania case gets resolved middle of next year and the extensions have been granted, then the project's going to go. That may not be a good thing for Maryland customers.
Okay, well, thank you. I think, Mr. Chairman, for today, I think the prudent course of action is to grant the extension. But I hope our staff will monitor all that's happening at PJM carefully. And next year, if we have to do this once again, I may be in a different position. But I think this time, this is probably the prudent step forward to go ahead and grant the extension. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
Chairman?
Commissioner O'Donnell, was it? Yes. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. And my apologies to my colleagues and to all parties for not being able to set up an internet connection out here on the West Coast this morning. So I'll have to call in, and I won't be able to see you, and you won't be able to see me, but we certainly can hear each other. So my first question goes to, I suppose, Mr. Gunderson and Mr. Ralph. Mr. Gunderson and or Mr. Ralph, when we issued our original Maryland CPCN, didn't we put in place significant development cost containment requirements and limitations during the pendency of the proceedings in Pennsylvania and contingent and held them to be in place until such time as approval was reached by the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission? Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
That is correct.
And if we were to approve the instant filings, wouldn't those cost containment measures and those limitations on expenditures continue to exist so that the abandonment costs could be at least mitigated should the project be abandoned?
It's absolutely true.
Yes. Okay, so they will stay in effect, and we were conscious of that when we issued our original decision, obviously. I'm not a fan of abandonment. I'm not a fan of developing projects that never become used and useful. And one of the PATH project, and especially the MAP project, which landed in a legislative district that I represented at the time, were both abandoned in Maryland, and they were very painful. So I appreciate the discussion of abandonment of projects. And it speaks to the difficulties of siting transmission projects in PJM and across the nation. But having said that, I think there are benefits here. We made the original determination there were benefits, and I'm willing to grant, Mr. Chairman, these extensions. But I want to emphasize that those cost containment measures must be vigorous, they must be aggressive, and they must be strictly adhered to. And I know we're monitoring those at the staff level. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had to add to the discussion this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other commissioners wishing to speak at this time, I'm prepared to make a motion that we grant with respect to items number 1 and number 2, that we grant the company's respective motions for additional extensions for the construction commencement deadline to December 31st, 2022, in case number 9471. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions for 1 and 2 are approved. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, item number 5 consists of tariff revisions from Hagerstown Light Department to reflect the revised Maryland environmental surcharge rates. On this item for staff, we have Lucy Shea and Lloyd Spivak, and for Hagerstown, Nathan Fritinger.
Good morning, Ms. Shea.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Lucy Shea on behalf of staff. On December 13th, 2021, Hagerstown Light Department filed clean and red line versions of its electric service tariff to revise the environmental surcharge on electrical energy distributed to its retail electric customers. On December 9th, 2021, the PSC Fiscal Division contacted Hagerstown to let it know that Hagerstown was not billing the correct current fiscal year 2022 rate of 0.000147 cents per kilowatt hour, which became effective on July 1st, 2021. The new rate was posted on the PSC website in the form of a commission directive dated June 4th, 2021. In its December 13th filing, HLD Hagerstown stated that it would bill the fiscal year 2022 rate of 0.000147 effective January 1, 2022. And it requested that it be approved to add a true-up factor to the new fiscal year 2023 surcharge to become effective on July 1st, 2022. A minor tariff language revision from a list of customer classes a minor tariff language revision from a list of customer classes affected to the phrase all rate schedules was also requested. Staff finds the filing request reasonable, as well as the following alternatives. The first alternative is that effective January 1st, 2022, Hagerstown could begin billing its customers the environmental surcharge at a rate of 0.000163 per kilowatt hour, which is a rate comprised of the fiscal year 2022 rate of 0.000146 per kilowatt hour, plus the calculated rate deficiency charged by Hagerstown from July 2021 through December 2021, which is 0.00017, and the total rate in this alternative to be charged would be 0.000163 per kilowatt hour. A second alternative is that the July through December 2021 collection shortfall could be calculated by PSC Fiscal and added to the as yet unknown fiscal year 2024 environmental surcharge rate effective July 1, 2023. Staff recommends that the company be approved to commence billing its customers the fiscal year 2022 rate combined with the arrearage rate effective January 1, 2022 through July 31st, 2022, to better enable the environmental surcharge revenues to be collected in the matching 12-month assessment period. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shea. That was quite a mouthful, and I'm dreading the motion here. We'll turn to Hagerstown Light Department. Mr. Nathan Fritinger. Ms. Shea, do we have any idea where Mr. Fritinger is?
No, an invitation was sent to him to the WebEx meeting.
Okay. I recognize that Hagerstown Light is a municipal, but they've failed to show at a number of commission proceedings in the past. Ms. Shea or Mr. Spivak, if you could let Hagerstown know that in the future, if they fail to show, their items will be continued to a future meeting. We can't ask questions of Hagerstown, but do commissioners have questions of Ms. Shea?
Oh, just one, Ms. Shea. Do you know if Hagerstown is comfortable with your proposal?
No, the proposal that I discussed with Mr. Fritinger was the starting to bill the correct rate in January and then truing up and adding that onto the fiscal year 2023 rate. That was also the rate, that was also what was suggested by fiscal to Mr. Fritinger.
Okay, so you don't know whether or not they can even do what you're suggesting. Do you know if they're capable of getting?
Oh, yes, because in Hagerstown's filing, they submitted revised and redline tariffs, and that those can simply be changed to a rate of 0.000163 per kilowatt hour beginning January 1st, 2022. That can be done.
That can be, they can accomplish that.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Commissioner, raised a good point. If they couldn't accomplish that, we wouldn't necessarily know.
We would not.
So I see that this rate takes effect January 1st. We won't delay it now, but again, if staff could remind Hagerstown Light Department of its responsibilities before the commission. At this point, I will move that we direct Hagerstown Light Department effective January 1st, 2022 to begin billing its customers the environmental surcharge at a rate of 0.000163.
You had an extra zero.
Did I have one extra
You
zero?
did.
Sorry. 0.000163 per kilowatt hour, which is a rate comprised of the fiscal year 2022 rate of $0.000146 per kilowatt hour, plus the calculated rate of deficiency charged by Hagerstown from July 2021 through December 2021, representing $0.000017, totaling $0.000163. I move that we accept Hagerstown Light Department's proposed tariff language on page 15 of the tariff from a list of customer classes to the term, quote, all rates, schedules, and contracts, end quote. I move that we direct Hagerstown Light Department to submit clean copies of the revised tariff pages reflecting the revised rate of $0.000163 and the revised tariff language with an effective date of January 1st, 2022. And finally, I move that we grant Hagerstown Light Department a waiver of the 30-day notice requirement by Public Utilities Article Section 4-203A. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 6 is the 2022 STRIDE program project list and surcharge calculations from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company. On this item for staff, we have Kobe Aninam, Mark Riley, Olivia Kirkendall, and for the company, Colin Tidings, Theo Reed, Cameron Kincaid, Dan Herson, Kevin Nelson, Lynn Fiery, and John Fran.
Thank you. Good morning to our staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Kobe Ingham on behalf of Commission staff. On November 1st, 2021, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed its proposed 2022 Strategic Infrastructure Development and Enhancement Project Plan list and surcharge calculations, as well as a list of proposed 2022 non-strike gas asset replacement work for the fourth year of the Strike 2 plan. Section 4.210 of the Public Utilities Article provides for a recovery of reasonable and prudent investment associated with accelerated gas company infrastructure improvements through a strike surcharge. At the end of year 2021, BG&E system retains the following strike eligible assets for replacement in the company's total system: 987 miles of cast iron main, 13 miles of bare steel main, 8,100 pre-1973 quarter-inch high-pressure steel services. In 2022, BGE, through its strike program, proposes to initiate and continue a complete proposed to initiate and continue a total of 47 operation pipeline projects. Of these projects, 27 are new and 20 are carryover projects from 2021 project list, which remain incomplete due to project completion delays or because the project was initially designed as a multi-year project. The company, through its strike programs, projects to abandon and replace approximately 59 miles of gas main. That includes 48 miles of cast iron and bare steel main. BG&E expects to abandon or replace approximately 10,589 gas services, including 5,500 pre-1973 quarter-inch high-pressure steel services and 5,089 services associated with the operation pipeline projects. I'm available to answer any questions you have on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Aniam. Counsel for Baltimore Gas Electric, any comments?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Daniel Herson for Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, and I'm joined by my colleagues here. We don't have a formal presentation for you. We're here to answer any questions, but I did want to point out one update. On page 2 of our filing, in the last bullet point, we noted some supply chain issues, and unfortunately those challenges continue to be real and present for us, and we're expecting those to continue into 2022. We've done the best job we can so far to manage them, but the reality is that the lead times for these materials continue to be high. The inventories are low. Because of COVID, a lot of the manufacturers had scaled back production, but demand really never dropped for the materials themselves. So there continues to be scarcity and the costs are high. Mr. Nelson, who's on the call today with us, I think he and his team have done a phenomenal job in managing this situation and trying to do the best we can with the resources we do have available to us. But we're going to have to continue to work that situation in 2022. And fortunately, Mr. Smith, who's our manager of engineering, he and his team have put together a plan that includes projects in 2022 that are pretty flexible for us, and we can adjust as needed and work our plan as best as possible. But we always want to be transparent with your honors about challenges we're facing, and that's certainly going to be a challenge going forward in 2022. But with that, we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Herson. Do my colleagues have questions? Hearing none, I would move that we approve the company's calendar year 2022 STRIDE project list and proposed 2022 surcharges. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 7 is the 2022 STRIDE project list and surcharge proposal of Elkton Gas Company. On this item for staff, we have Adesina Jayola, Mark Riley, and Olivia Kirkendall, as well as Lloyd Spivak, and for the company, Mary Kozel, Brian Quinn, and Matt Everingham.
Thank you. Good morning to staff.
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, staff. This is Adesina Jayola on behalf of staff. On November 1st, 2021, Elkton Gas filed its proposed 2022 STRIDE project list and surcharge proposals as required by Order Number 8 9931, issued August 20, 2021 in case number 9660. Elkton Gas has filed an updated status of its 2021 STRIDE project list as of November 1, 2021. The approved Elkton Gas STRIDE plan for 2021 was effective September 4, 2021. According to Elkton Gas, implementation of the approved plan has only been in effect for less than 60 days. As a result, Elkton Gas has stated that the projects are ongoing and additional data will be filed upon the completion of the 2021 projects. Engineering staff have reviewed Elkton Gas' proposal to replace approximately 1.2 miles of mains in 2022. The company's 2022 proposed surcharge is based on 1.2 miles of main, 21 services, and replacement or upgrade of pipe and facilities associated with aging Aldale A pipes. The accounting division staff has reviewed the STRIDE charge for 2022, included in Elkton Gas Company's proposed STRIDE project for the upcoming year associated with the proposed STRIDE revenue requirement and the surcharges proposed to become effective January 1, 2022. The STRIDE 2022 revenue requirement is consistent with the case number 9660 approved settlement agreement, which is MLN 236343. The calculations are accurate and without material discrepancies. The telecommunications, gas, and water division staff review the current and proposed monthly surcharges and proposed surcharges caps by customer class under the revenue requirement supported by the staff of the accounting division. The annual STRIDE surcharge for each customer class may not exceed the surcharge cap for that customer class. The proposed STRIDE surcharges are below the proposed surcharge caps. Thus, the proposed monthly surcharges will be set equal to the calculated surcharge. So, in conclusion, staff recommends that the Commission approve the company's 2022 project list and accept for filing the company's proposed surcharges effective January 1, 2022. Staff representatives from the engineering division, accounting division, and the telecommunication, gas, and water divisions are here to answer any question you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Giola. Counsel for Elkton, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
Thank you.
Do commissioners have questions for the parties? Seeing none, I would move that with respect to item number 7, that we approve Elkton's 2022 project list and accept the proposed surcharges for filing with an effective date of January 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, items number 8 through 14 concern Empower Maryland surcharge changes from various companies. On these items for staff, we have Dan Hurley, Kevin Mosier, Michael Dean, Michael Chang, Jim Greger, and Paige Shaw. For the Potomac Edison Company, we have Jeffrey Trout and Ray Valdez. For Washington Gas, John Dodge, Andrew Lawson, and John McClellan. For Potomac Electric Power Company and Delmarva Power and Light Company, we have Taylor Beckham, Lindsay North, Nate Gillespie, and Brian Talley. For SMECO, we have Eugene Bradford and Mark McDougall. And for Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, Bev Sikora, John Frayne, and Lynn Firey.
Thank you. We'll begin with the presentation by staff.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Paige Shaw on behalf of staff. Items 8 through 14 represent the filings from Potomac Edison Company, Washington Gas Light Company, Potomac Electric Power Company, Delmarva Power and Light Company, Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, and Baltimore Gas and Electric Company's proposed updates to their Empower Maryland surcharges for 2022. Staff has reviewed the filings and notes that the proposed costs in 2022 are very similar to the costs proposed in the company's 2021 to 2023 Empower Maryland program filings. As noted in our written comments, staff recommends the commission accept for filing the proposed tariff changes with the effective date stated in the company's tariffs. And staff's available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Very succinct for a half dozen items. Do any of the utilities on items 8 through 14 have any additional commentary to provide? Seeing none, do commissioners have questions for the parties on these Empower filings?
Mr. Chairman, I don't really have a question, but just a quick note. I wanted to take note that I thought these presentations by the staff were very, very well put together. And one thing I thought was interesting is really the discussion about the amounts that are return costs. And I would note that over $21 million this year for our largest investor-owned utilities will go to return costs. And these are important programs, so I do not begrudge the earning of this money by utilities at all. But I'm really looking forward to next year, next April, to hear some of the outcomes of the cost recovery work group and some opportunities we might have to explore using performance-based rate making and specifically PIMs, performance incentive mechanisms, to maybe calibrate those returns with the amount of returns. Again, I think because these are mandated funds that get collected, I personally would like to make sure that our utilities are incentivized to earn those dollars. So anyway, that was the only thing I wanted to make note of. But again, I think these are good programs for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. At this point, I'm prepared to make individual motions for these items. With respect to item number 8, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of January 1st, 2022. With respect to item number 9, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of December 30th, 2021. With respect to items number 10 and 11, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing effective with February 2022 billings. And with respect to items number 12, 13, and 14, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing effective with January 2022 billings. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions are approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 15 consists of tariff revisions from Potomac Electric Power Company relating to service connection fees for single-family homes and townhomes and contribution in aid of construction charges for street lighting. On this item, for staff, we have Brett Spruill, Drew McAuliffe, and Annette Garofalo, as well as for the company Matt Seegers and Wiley Kynard. I'm sorry, it's Catherine Moriarty and replacing Ms. Garofalo.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Good morning to our staff.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Brett Spruill on behalf of staff. On October 29th, 2021, the Potomac Electric Power Company, or Pepco, filed revised tariff pages related to updating service connection fees for residential homes and contribution in aid of construction, or kayak charges, for streetlights. These updates are being made at this time in order to replace 1 year of estimated cost data with 1 year of actual cost data for the most recent 3-year period. This is being done so that Pepco will have 3 consecutive years of actual cost data by 2022. As of this current filing, however, Pepco is still utilizing 1 year of estimated cost data and 2 years of actual cost data. The residential service connection fees that are being updated in this filing are for single-family homes and townhomes, which have separate fees. For these residential service connections, the proposed fees are calculated as the average cost per connection of all service connections in the most recent 3-year period. The kayak charges that are being updated in this filing are for overhead line streetlight customers and underground line streetlight customers, which have separate fees. For streetlight kayaks, the proposed charges are broken down between 4 categories: luminaire and mount, new supply connection, removal only, and wattage conversion. These charges are then calculated by averaging the total cost of lights for each category divided by the total number of lights for each category in the most recent 3-year period. After sending multiple data requests and analyzing Pepco's cost data, staff has determined 2 changes to Pepco's service connection fee methodology that the company should consider in its next filing in 2022 when 3 years of actual cost data is available. Staff recommends using a different fee for single-family homes with connection lengths that are 75 feet and below, based on cost data and Pepco's agreements with its contractors. Staff also recommends removing individual cost outliers from the data based on a standard deviation method rather than an arbitrary number. These 2 changes should not be considered in the current filing because Pepco is still utilizing 1 year of estimated cost data in its current calculations, which does not accurately display the actual cost of service connections or streetlight construction. Rather, staff recommends that these changes be considered by the company when they have 3 years of actual cost data available in 2022. Despite the 2 changes that staff has recommended be considered for a future filing, staff has analyzed and verified Pepco's residential service connection fees and streetlight kayak charges and recommends that the commission accept for filing the proposed updates as filed by the company. I'm open for answering any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul. We'll turn to counsel for Pepco.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matthew Seeger is appearing for Pepco. Also appearing with me is Mr. Wiley Kennard, our subject matter expert. We have nothing to add to staff's recommendation, but the company is available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. I know Miss Mackerlane's headgear there. We're trying to see what you're wearing. Can you turn your head? Is there additional antlers? No. Oh, no. No, there's no antlers. Okay. The bricks behind you made it seem like you had horns. Do my colleagues have questions based on Mr. Sproul's presentation and recommendation?
I don't have a question based on the recommendation, though. Mr. Seegers, is the company prepared to work with the staff with respect to their recommendation for next year?
Absolutely, Your Honor. For the past few years, we have, once we've gathered the data for the filings, we've given staff a briefing. And once we have 3 years of actual data, that's something that we are definitely willing to work with staff on prior to our filing for next year.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask the company, what level of outreach in developing these filings did you have with the Metropolitan Washington Building Industry Association? And if you had any, if you can describe them and what kind of feedback you got from the Building Industry Association?
Your Honor, I'm going to see if Mr. Kennard is able to answer that question. I do not know what level of outreach we have had. Mr. Kennard, are you able to answer that question? Seems we do not have Mr. Kennard. My apologies, Your Honor. I can certainly check on that and get back to you with more information about
Hello,
that.
can you hear me? I was speaking.
Oh, yes, we can now.
Can you hear me now?
Mr. Kennard, yes.
Are you able to hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Oh, I guess
you hear
Mr.
me?
Kennard cannot hear us, Mr. Seegers.
My apologies about that. We can certainly check on that and get back to you with that information, Commissioner, if that would suffice.
Yeah, that would be fine by me. I just want to keep track of these interactions. I think there's key stakeholder, obviously, for these types of filings, as you know, as they put in developments and do build outs, and that all inures to the cost of the residential housing in your service territory. And if you're not doing outreach, I'd like to know that, and maybe why not, as I think this is important to the citizens as well as the business community. So,
Are you able to hear me now?
we can hear
Hello?
you, Mr. Kennard. You hear us?
Okay, I'm sorry. I was speaking and no one can hear me. I'm sorry. Yes, we do make outreach. I am a member of the MBIA, and I do let the building community know about any changes and things that are forthcoming, as well as work with them regularly. And I attend their meetings, and yes, I am the person that actually speaks at those meetings for Pepco.
And what was the nature of the feedback and interaction you got on this?
Well, the nature of the feedback is that we explain to them exactly why these fees are changing and how it impacts the regular modern day costs and what those impacts and changes are. And a lot of times they ask, but also they understand because we work with them on a regular basis. As you all know, a lot of things change, pricing. COVID has changed the way we do business from not only a construction standpoint, but an installation perspective as well. And we regularly talk them through their concerns.
Okay, so they do express concerns to you. And do you ever resolve any of their concerns in their
Yes, we do.
benefit?
Yes, we do. We often resolve them at those meetings. And what we do is once we understand what their concerns are, we work through those issues not only internally but externally. We work with our departments, our internal departments, to address any issues that the building community has. But we also work to try to better the relationship with the building community as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate it. Sorry about the glitch on the audios, but I ultimately got what I was looking for, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions at this time, I propose to move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of December 22nd, 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Item number 16, Mr. Chairman, is an update from the Potomac Edison Company to its Warrior Run surcharge. On this item for staff, we have Kevin Mosier and James Greger, and for the company, Jeffrey Trout.
Good morning, Mr. Mosier. Mr. Mosier, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
Okay, yeah, my apologies. I was afraid I might have had an issue with this microphone. The Potomac Edison Company, in this filing, they proposed to update their tariffs to reflect the purpose surcharge project for the period of January 2022 through December 2022. In case number 8797, the Commission approved a settlement agreement that authorized the implementation of the Warrior Run surcharge. The surcharge is designed to cover the contract payments less the revenues from the sale of power. The current residential rate will be decreased to 0.723 cents per kilowatt hour, a drop from its current rate of 1.242 cents per kilowatt hour. Staff reviewed the documents that PE submitted developing the rate, and staff believes that the components have been calculated in accordance with the settlement agreement. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission accept the revised tariff for filing with an effective date of January 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. Counsel for Potomac Edison.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Proud for Potomac Edison. With me is Raymond Valdez, our Director of Rates and Regulatory Affairs. We agree with staff's analysis and we're able to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Do commissioners have questions on the PERPA surcharge?
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Trout, I have one question for you. It's 2 words. How long?
February of 2030. So less than 8 years to go.
Okay, thank you. I kept the question short. You kept the answer short, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
this is one of those items I know that come up every single year and we can't do anything about, but I am interested in just understanding the agreement and the costs that go into the agreement. When we calculate the cost, are the costs of Reggie, meeting the Reggie, purchasing the credits, is that included as an offset?
Ray, do you happen to know the answer to that question?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Ray Valdez from Potomac Edison. I'm not familiar with the impact of Reggie on the determination of the market proceeds. That's something that we can circle back and provide to the Commissioners after we discuss that with our procurement folks.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're, I think, frustrated by this. It's increasingly incongruous with state policies on decarbonization to see this operating, and just the fact that they're also paying it a premium. We're forcing a premium to be paid by PE customers to keep this operating is, again, troubling. But I would be interested to know, are we also actually taking the cost of complying with Reggie? Is that also being passed along and is not being shouldered at all by the plant? So I mean, I'd be interested to know that. And I'm just curious also if there's ever been, if we didn't pay any of the costs, what the impact would be if we just asked the plant to stop operating. Okay, there'd be no cost, hopefully. And what would the charge be to ratepayers then? I just kind of be interested to know that calculation. So other than that, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Spivak, was that
Yes.
or?
I apologize for intervening. I do have one comment with respect to Commissioner Richards' question on Reggie. When Reggie was originally established, the Warrior Run people actually came to the commission and asked that their additional costs for Reggie be included within the surcharge, is my recollection, and they were told no.
Thank you, Mr. Spivak. I'm glad to hear that.
And to your other question, Commissioner Richard, if the plant, if we were to tell Warrior Run to shut down, my understanding, subject to check, is that if we were to tell Warrior Run to shut down, we would be shooting ourselves in the foot, because we would still have to pay for the notional output, but we then wouldn't have the output to sell in the market.
Yeah, I understand. I was just curious what the delta was between, what we do have to pay after the premium is assessed to the ratepayers. And my calculation was there'd be no, hopefully, expenses. There'd be no, fuel expense. There'd be no, any other expenses that would go into that generation. So anyway, that was the only reason I was curious. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions, I would move that with respect to item number 16, that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of January 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 17 is the Potomac Edison Company's annual electric distribution investment surcharge report for 2021 and associated tariff revisions. On this item for staff, we have Christopher Lowe, Michael Dean, Mark Riley, and Drew McAuliffe. And for the company, Jeffrey Trout, Raymond Valdez, and David Bedard.
Good morning to our staff. Mr. Lowe, Mr. Dean.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Christopher Lowe on behalf of staff. On November 24, 2021, Potomac Edison Company filed its third annual Electric Distribution Investment Surcharge Report, EDIS. Under Public Utilities Section 4-202, the electric company tariff is to include its rates and charges, terms and conditions, policies, practices, and providing regulated services. In order number 89072, case number 9490, the Commission approved a surcharge to recover costs of reliability improvements regarding distribution automations, DA schemes, reclosers, and underground cable replacements. The 2021 work reported in this filing includes installation of 2 DA schemes replacement of 13 reclosers, and 51 miles of underground cable. As discussed in staff comments, the overall EDIS cost estimate for 2021 has increased 19.5% from the original cost estimates proposed by the company in the 2020 EDIS filing. The cost variance was due to the increases in engineering and labor costs and additional material that are not in the original work plan. Staff also reviewed the 2022 proposed work cost estimates and the calculation of the surcharges for different customer classes and determined they were correctly calculated. With all of the proposed changes in 2022 EDIS charge, an average residential customer using 1,000 kilowatt hour, the surcharge of $0.00068 per kilowatt hour will have a monthly bill increase of $0.008. Staff recommends that the Commission note the Potomac Edison 2021 EDIS report, and staff also recommends that the Commission accept for filing the Potomac Edison tariff with the effective date of January 1st, 2022. Thank you.
Mr. Trout, anything to add?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. No, the company agrees with the staff's recommendations. We're available to answer your questions.
Do commissioners have questions? Seeing none, hearing none, I would move that we note the company's 2021 electric distribution investment surcharge report and accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of January the 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you, Your Honor. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Merry Christmas to you.
Mr. Chairman, item number 18 consists of updates to the Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative's Rider G rates. On this item for staff, we have Brett Spruill and Drew McAuliffe, as well as Catherine Moriarty, and for the cooperative, Eugene Bradford and Mark McDougall.
Thank you. We'll return to staff. Ms. Moriarty?
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Brett Spruill on behalf of staff. On November 24th, 2021, the Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative, or SMECO, filed to revise tariffs related to updating rates for Rider G service. This rider was established following Commission Order number 89872 on July 1st, 2021, and provides standard offer service members with 100% renewable energy. SMECO is able to provide this service by purchasing additional renewable energy credits, or RECs, above the amount that is required to meet Maryland's renewable energy portfolio standard. The rate for this rider is set based on two main inputs: the estimated market price for Maryland Tier 1 RECs in 2022, and the additional percentage of RECs required to be purchased to reach 100% renewable energy. Because this rider requires the purchasing of additional RECs, the rate is strongly influenced by the market price of Maryland Tier 1 RECs. In the current filing, the Rider G rate has increased roughly 29% since the previous filing, and this increase is largely due to the increase in Maryland Tier 1 REC price since the previous filing. The Rider G rate currently does not have any members, as SMECO has not yet offered this service. However, following the Commission's acceptance to the rate updates, SMECO will begin to offer this service to its members. Staff has analyzed and verified SMECO's rate calculations for the Rider G service and recommends that the Commission accept for filing the proposed rate updates. I'm now open for answering any questions that the Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spruill. We've worked on this Rider G rate for quite some time. It's not in effect yet. Mr. McDougall, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman.
Anything to add to Mr. Spruill's presentation?
No, I think staff has done a very nice job on this. We don't have any additions, but Mr. Bradford and I are available if the Commission has any questions for us.
Thank you. It sounds like your intent to offer this service to your members is imminent. Is that right?
It is imminent, Mr. Chairman. SMECO has just recently put together its communications materials, ensuring that they are informational. I know there was a great concern by some folks that that would not be marketing or promotional, and we believe it is not at all. It is informational only. And we will be submitting those materials to staff very shortly. And according to the commission's order in this matter, staff will have 30 days to review and confirm the informational nature of it.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for being mindful of the prohibition on marketing an SOS product. Do commissioners have questions for SMECO or the staff? Seeing none and hearing none, I would move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of January the 1st, 2022. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Mr. Chairman, notwithstanding previous concerns I may have expressed regarding the policy decision that we issued in an order this past summer, I realize this is simply a tariff filing and policy decisions made. I vote aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, today's final item is item number 19, base distribution revenue offset riders for Baltimore Gas and Electric Company's multi-year plan. On this item for staff, we have David Hoppick, Jamie Smith, Ben Baker, Drew McAuliffe, and Michael Dean. For the company, John Frayne, Lynn Fiery, Beverly Sikora, and for Office of People's Counsel, Joe Gleater.
Thank you. As our final item today, good morning to our staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start with a correction to a table. So please turn to page 8 of staff's comments. That's table 9. There's a row labeled BGE proposal, and on the right under sum of offsets, it currently says $10,769,000. Please replace that with negative $53,246,000. And that does not change any of staff's position.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppick.
So with that, good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. David Hoppick on behalf of staff. As required by Order 89678, as well as its approved tariff, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, or BGE, has filed updates to its electric and gas offset riders for rate year 2 of its ongoing multi-year rate plan, or MYP. BGE proposes to set the offsets for electric and gas to 0 for both rate years 2 and 3. As staff notes in its comments, offsets to distribution rate increases will be recovered from ratepayers in the future through lower tax liability and therefore higher revenue requirements. Staff supports setting offsets to 0 in rate years 2 and 3 to avoid further revenue deferral, which will be recovered from ratepayers in the future. In the interest of presenting the Commission multiple options, staff presents 3 options for partial offsets of rate year 2 distribution increases for both gas and electric service. Staff has worked with BGE to determine the corresponding offset rates for each rate class for each of these options. Staff is available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppick, for preparing these options over the course of the past week. We'll turn to counsel for People's Counsel.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes, your microphone isn't the best, Mr. Cleaver, but we can strain to hear you.
I know. I'm using state equipment, Your Honor. I'll put in a request for something better.
We feel your pain.
Yeah. Your Honor, OPC shares the concerns that the commission stated in its final order in the BGE MRP case in chief, case number 9645. The concerns that the commission expressed with respect to the continuation of offsets. If offsets are continued, that will result in higher rates in the out years beyond the years of the MRP. If offsets are continued, that'll mean a sharper increase once the offsets cease. And it also, we agree that the offsets, their continuation will mask temporarily the increasing revenue requirement of the company. So we share all of those concerns. But unfortunately, many of the conditions that the commission identified in support of its decision to accept the company's proposal to implement offsets in 2021 remain. Much to the dismay of everyone, we've all seen the recent news regarding the pandemic. Inflation is, of course, at an all-time high. And as we noted in our letter, in BGE's filings in the PC 53 docket, we've seen in recent months an ever-increasing number of customers who are in arrearages, who have been in arrearages for greater than 60 days. So in our recommendation that we made to the commission, we tried to balance those two kind of countervailing pressures. And what we came up with and what we're recommending is that for electric customers, that offsets of the 2021 incremental revenue requirement continue, but only 25% of that revenue requirement associated with 2021 spend and investments be offset in 2022, and that also the revenue requirement as projected for 2022 for electric customers also be offset by 25%. With respect to gas customers, we've also recommended an equal percentage with respect to the revenue requirements for years 1 and 2, but for gas customers, the recommendation is 50% of the year 1 revenue requirement continuing to be offset in 2022, and 50% of the 2022 revenue requirement being offset in 2022. For electric customers, we thought it was important to continue to offset the year 1 revenue requirement. If you look at, and this is set forth very clearly on page 1 of the commission's final order in case 9645, the greatest or the highest revenue requirement that the commission authorized for the company over the 3 years of the MRP was year 1. So in light of that, considering that this was front-loaded in terms of the projected spend, happening earlier in the 3 years of the MRP, we thought it was important to continue the offsets for year 1 in addition to year 2. I note that staff in one of its alternative proposals in its comments did provide a scenario where 25% of the electric revenue requirement was offset, but that was only for the 2022 revenue requirement, not for the 2021. OPC is recommending 25% of both. Also, as mentioned in our comments, and another reason for our recommendation, BGE provided a very helpful model to us informally, where you can look at the rate impacts of different scenarios. And with this 25-25 scenario for electric for years 1 and 2, the model that BGE developed and was kind enough to share with us reflects that if our proposal is accepted, that means that rates would increase for electric customers in 2023 and in 2022 and 2023 by about the same amount as measured by average bill impact. It would just be a couple cents difference, both around $3. For gas, the reason for the greater percentage recommendation, gas was even more heavily front-loaded than electric. So that's another reason. Actually, if you look at just years 1 and 2 as compared to year 3 for electric, 87% of the total authorized incremental revenue requirement increases come in years 1 and 2 for gas. Again, that's referring to a table on page 2 of the commission's final order. So we thought that was important to continue year 1 for that reason. It's very heavily front-loaded. And as to the disparate recommendation for gas as opposed to electric, as we've highlighted in our comments, the impact on average customer bills this winter due to commodity costs is much greater for gas customers as opposed to electric customers. And that's why we deem that appropriate. There will be a slight difference if under our recommendation in terms of the 2022 versus 2023 impact. I think that using BGE's model, if with this 50% recommendation, average bill increase for a gas customer would be for an average monthly bill increase amount for under that proposal that OPC has recommended would be about $2.40 in this coming year 2022, and would go up to about $3 in 2023. I appreciate the Commission's time and attention to this matter, and appreciate the opportunity to speak today and last week on this matter, and I'm available for any questions that the Commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cleaver. It appears that we have several Santa's helpers at BGE to give us the utilities take on the request and staff's recommendation. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Beth Sikora on behalf of BGE. First, on behalf of BGE and everyone, just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you all. First, I just want to make sure the Commission is aware that Monday afternoon, we did submit a filing where for each of the alternatives that staff proposed, we set forth the tax benefits that would get used in rate year 2, and then the tax benefits that would be remaining. Chairman Stanek, you had asked about those last week, so it'd be helpful for you to see those as well, so you know what each proposal would do.
Yes, thank you. And we did receive and review the letter dated December 20th, so we appreciate your forwarding that to us.
Welcome. And the company still believes that it's appropriate to discontinue the offsets, for the reasons that both staff and OPC have expressed. But at the same time, we do understand their concerns and the concerns that the Commission has raised. And to the extent that the Commission does believe that it's appropriate to continue some level of offset, we are prepared to do that. As staff has said, we've worked with them to make sure that we're in agreement on their proposals. The proposal from OPC for electric is a little different than what we had been talking with staff about, but it is something that could be accomplished, that could be done. It's not terribly different.
Thank you, Ms. Sikora. I think in this instance, both the BGE and staff position, as well as the OPC position, all have a lot of merit. Let me turn to my colleagues. We'll start with Commissioner Herman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions, clarifying questions. Mr. Hoppick, in your table 10 and table 6, those are distribution bill impacts, not total bill impacts. Is that correct?
Yes. So table 6 is distribution bill impacts, average distribution bill impacts for the various scenarios for electric. Table 10 shows average distribution bill impacts for the various scenarios for gas. And then table 11 is the total bill impacts for gas.
So, Mr. Cleaver, the numbers that you just gave for electric around $3 for 22 and 23, and for gas $2.40 and $3 for 22 and 23 respectively, are those distribution bill impacts or total bill impacts?
They're the same, Your Honor. So as a percentage, if you include commodity costs, then that would of course change the percentage. With total bill, the percentage increase would of course be much smaller as opposed to distribution portion only. But as a dollar amount, that doesn't change one way or the other, and that's my understanding, and that's what BGE's model also bears out.
Sure, I understand that it's different depending on total bill or distribution bill. I'm just trying to understand which your numbers are. Are your numbers that you just gave me of $3 and $2.40 and $3, are those, oh, you're right. I'm not thinking. So you didn't give me the percentages, you only gave me the numbers. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so, I have a question for the company. If the commission were to accept either, one of the staff options or the OPC options, you say you can accommodate either of those right away. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I think last week that you heard that the commission had some concern with respect to notice and, notice of the rate impact. And I'm wondering if if the commission ordered that the revenue requirement that it previously approved should go into effect, but that the offset should remain so that there's no impact for a month, so that would give you time to then develop communications to provide notice to customers that that the bills were going to be changing, and it was a result of the multi-year plan and all of the information that would go along with that. Is that something that could be accomplished? If you understand what I'm asking, Mr. Frame.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner Herman and commissioners. Yes, that is something that we could do. I will say that, of course, we'll be endeavoring to start communicating with customers, whatever the commission decides today, now, before January 1st. But yes, we could continue to offset 100% of the increase in January, and then implement whatever else the commission decides in February.
Okay. Because I have to say that today is the 22nd of December, and that there's a lot going on in the world today. I think that we had originally reserved the right to decide about offsets for this year, depending on what the situation was. And that's exactly what we ordered in the case, that we were going to decide where we were at that time. And from my standpoint, I believe that we do need some level of an offset. I think it's appropriate to do that because in addition to the economic conditions that are in effect, and the fact that we still are in pandemic mode and seem to be kind of going backwards, unfortunately, as much as we would prefer to be moving forward. I also, from my standpoint, the whole point of a multi-year rate plan is so that instead of having large steps, we have we smooth things out. And I think that from my standpoint, I believe that the OPC proposal does a good job of leveling out the increase, and that once we finish with 2023, we will have overcome the large step that we had in year one, because we had 2.5, 3 years worth of rate increases there. So from my part, I like the OPC proposal, and I appreciate the information that it effectively smooths out the increase over the period. My concern being that we do need to communicate these increases, and that this is a pilot program, and we should be telling customers what is happening, and having them understand that there is a rate increase, that it's being partially offset, and that it is designed to recover rates in a gradual manner. And I think that the OPC proposal does that. So with that said, that would be my proposal, that to the other commissioners, that we allow the revenue requirement to go into effect as agreed upon in the rate case. We offset that just for 1 month, and I'm sure, Mr. Frame, you can assure us that we have plenty of offset available to do that for that 1 month period.
We do.
Okay, thank you. And that then we have the rates go into effect as OPC has proposed with the offsets beginning February 1st. So that would be my proposal to the other commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Herman. Do commissioners wish to respond to Commissioner Herman or have additional thoughts? I am supportive of her proposal.
Mr. Chairman.
I would.
Oh, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Go.
No, well, I could defer, but it's hard to see, so I can't see anybody like I'll go ahead and go, I guess, since I jumped in. A couple of thoughts. I tend to agree with what Commissioner Herman said. And there are some other thoughts too. This proposal will leave us with substantial reserves in the regulatory liability resulting from the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2018. And I think that's important. It is an uncertain time. We do have great uncertainties, and I do think we need to communicate with the public, and the company has the responsibility to do that, and I think that's important. So having said all those things, I am prepared to support Commissioner Herman's suggestion of continuing the total offset for 1 month, the month of January 2022, and then implementing OPC's alternative suggestion of a 25% electric offset for rate years, continuing the rate year 1 and 2 offset 25% for electric and 50% for gas. And I'm ready to support that, but I do have a question for Ms. Sakura, having said all that. Ms. Sakura, during our previous discussion of this, you had indicated, I had asked you, if you recall, what could we do to not find ourselves in the same position again going into rate year 3? And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you had replied that, well, one of the things we could do is to potentially be prepared to file this information earlier so that we're not in the holiday season, if you will, on the verge of Christmas Eve and the verge of New Year's and everything else that's going on, and implementing such a thing where it's difficult to communicate. Is that a fair assessment of what you had said or offered?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, so the company is prepared to come in earlier next year to deal with this issue, so that we don't have a gun against our head, if you will, at the end of the year. Bad metaphor, but
certainly we
right?
can file, earlier perhaps. I haven't quite thought it through. Sometime, August, September, even. I think with the goal perhaps to have a decision, say before November 1st, so that we could, use November and December to communicate. I think when we would file would, be dependent on how much time the commission wants us to have to communicate, and then how long, staff and OPC and others, think they would need to evaluate, anything. So, but yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I doubt if we're going to specify a date, but I think the company should exercise its good and prudent judgment to make that happen as soon as possible, to allow all the things you just mentioned happen. So thank you for that. I just wanted to kind of get that on the record during the AM. And then lastly, Mr. Chairman, one last thought generally, and that is, I had great concerns that there was an imminent increase in the corporate income tax structure by 7% was the number that was being bandied about. That is less certain to occur in my mind now. It's hard to predict with any degree of certainty what's going to happen in this environment. But having said that, I think there are some growing corners of support across the spectrum in Washington, not to go as high as 7% increase, but maybe something less. And And that would even further mitigate my concerns of burning through these regulatory liabilities quicker than we might should. So having said all that, I'm prepared to support Commissioner Herman's suggestion.
Thank you. Commissioner Richard.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I am also supporting Commissioner Herman's recommendation. I did want to emphasize that I agree with her completely on her discussion with regards to communication by the company, and I also agree very much with Commissioner O'Donnell about hopefully better timing next year. I was very influenced by OPC. I initially had wanted to go maybe a little further and use more of the funds for the offsets, given the situation we're in right now. But I think the OPC position is a good one and is thoughtful. And while I would have liked to maybe extend it a couple of months, I think what Commissioner Herman is suggesting is also a good point we can all agree on. So with that, I will be supporting Commissioner Herman's recommendation or motion.
Thank you. Any additional comments from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I also am supportive of Commissioner Herman's recommendation or motion. I did have a question for the company, though. Noting that earlier they made reference to the fact that they had been reviewing and considering what type of information to present to consumers, but had not moved in doing so because they didn't know what the commission's decision would be. When we first considered proceeding with a multi-year rate plan a couple of years ago in nicer times, we did receive some concerns from some parties that the transparency we were looking for may not necessarily allure to consumers as well, because there wouldn't be all of the components of a rate case. You wouldn't have all the public hearings and everything else, so consumers may not know what's happening. So the notice piece here is important as part of this overall pilot for consumers as well. So I'm curious to hear during the course of this 1 month period, what the company is going to do to advertise, to inform consumers about this impending rate increase. And I'm not just thinking about social media stuff, because we see those all the time, and we're certainly not just talking about the increased usage information, which is extremely helpful and necessary, but consumers already have that. So I'm curious as to what's different that the company is going to do at this time. Well, hopefully it'll be valuable. So I'm just interested to hear what they were going to do.
Certainly. I think, first thing we're going to try and do, and the window is short, but I think we can get a message to start on in the January bill inserts. So, if we can get that in, people will have that in there. We can also get a bill message potentially on the January bill to give people notice, and then certainly on the February bill. We will, use social media to communicate the message. We will use our website. We do have an NYP page to that kind of tells the full story, and so we can then update it with this information. We have the banner page on, I think it's called the banner on the home page, that can be used to give people notice. That's usually short messaging, but it can take them to where there's more information. Thinking, that there's certainly, I think, potentially emails to customers that have email addresses on file with us. There's a host of things we can do.
Okay, and that's mostly my concern. I support the proposal that Commissioner Herman has presented, but I just wanted to make sure that there's actually a plan in place where this decision today can essentially drop into it, and the company can proceed. so that nothing is absolute, but the majority, as many customers as possible can receive notice that this is coming as soon as possible, and they can take whatever steps they need to take from there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Linton. At this point, I'm prepared to propose a motion along the lines of what Commissioner Herman described. It's going to be a 5-part motion. I'll attempt to read it slowly for the benefit of BGE, although it'll be available for replay on our YouTube. The first part of the 5-part motion is that the Commission direct BGE to increase its Maryland electric and gas distribution rates in accordance with the respective revenue requirements for 2022 and 2023, authorized in case number 9645 and order number 89678, to be effective on January 1st, 2022. Motion 2 is that the Commission will adopt OPC's recommendation for a partial offset of 25% for electric customers of BGE's incremental 2021 and 2022 electric revenue requirement, and a partial offset of 50% for gas customers of BGE's incremental 2021 and 2022 gas revenue requirements effective on February 1st, 2022. Motion number 3, that the Commission directs BGE to accelerate the return of certain tax benefits for use as an offset to ensure that there is no bill impact during the month of January 2022 for both electric and gas distribution rates. Motion number 4, that the Commission direct BGE to provide adequate and sufficient notice to its electric and gas ratepayers and customers of the respective rate increases beginning February 1st, 2022, and to coordinate the drafts of such communications with Commission staff and Office of People's Counsel. And motion number 5, that the Commission direct BGE to file tariffs for 2022 in compliance with this motion with effective dates prescribed, subject to acceptance by the Commission. Let me pause there and just, before I call a vote on those 5 motions, ask BGE if any of that was unclear.
Nope, I understood it completely.
So, Mr. Chairman, just one point of clarification, if I may.
Mr. Hoppick, yes.
So the offsets were done after applying what were referred to as the effective BSA adjustments for both gas and electric. So this is Rider 25 for electric and Rider 8 for gas. And there are also adjustments in rate year 2. I did a quick look at the spreadsheets. They are very, very minor. But when you're referring to no change in distribution bill impact, I was assuming that was after applying the effective BSA changes, and just wanted to remind folks of that as well.
Yes.
Yes, yes, you are correct, Mr. Hoppick. I suspect it'll be minimal, if that. But thank you for flagging. Ms. Sikora understands as well.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll take a vote, beginning with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard. Aye. I vote aye. The motion is approved. I wish everybody, on behalf of my colleagues, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a very healthy and safe New Year. We've accomplished a lot as an agency over the past 12 months, and we look forward to working with our regulated utilities again in the 2022. With that, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Happy holidays to everybody.